G'day and welcome to a review of our big win, 48-point win against the Adelaide Crows at Marvel Stadium yesterday, twilight game, and I must say first up that it feels good to actually get one of these reviews out less than 24 hours after the game. I've been a little bit lax over the last month or so. So I'm happy to do this right here, right now, while it's still relatively fresh in my mind. I was there yesterday for the second time this year. I've been able to go to the football. And it is a pleasure to actually get there and watch this team, the way they're developing. The last game I went to was the Port Adelaide game at the MCG. First time I've been able to go to Marvel this year, and I thought we put on a pretty solid performance against the Adelaide Crows yesterday. I don't necessarily enjoy the football experience of being at the modern grounds. That's just me now, but I'm certainly enjoying what our team is building at the moment. And look, put it into context. The Adelaide Crows and North Melbourne the week before, what is it, a 50-point win over North Melbourne, now a 48-point win. But it's still fresh in my mind, that performance against the Dockers 3 weeks back. So I'm pretty much at ease with where we're heading at the moment and how we're developing. But I'm also, I'm just very wary that there's going to be some disappointments along the way. And right here, right now, we're sitting fourth after 8 rounds. And finals aren't played in the 5th month of the year. So let's see how we're tracking come round 23, because if we're still fourth come round 23, then there's going to be a big smile on my face as we head into September. What did I like about yesterday, other than the fact that we really for 3 quarters, the Crows kicked the first 2 goals, and after that it was pretty one-way traffic as far as I'm concerned. And other than that last quarter, 5 goals to 2, I thought we just controlled this game, and we really physically, we were way too powerful for Adelaide. And I thought just the way we set up as well was particularly impressive. And going to the games, this is the beauty about going to the games. I felt myself yesterday a little bit different to the Port Adelaide game at the MCG. I felt myself not being too sort of like watching where the play was. I was looking behind the ball. I was looking at what our forwards were doing when the ball was up the other end of the ground, and vice versa. I was looking how our defenders were set up and at what our midfielders were doing, and it was just, look, I just thought from that angle, we definitely are trying to get on the right page. And playing these weaker teams, I suppose, allows us to gain some confidence in that structure and in that system that we're trying to put in place. So that's the way I see it anyway. So I'm just going to go through 10 points which I've identified from the game. And the first one, I suppose, is a bit of a cliche, but just know your role. Players knowing their role, being capable of fulfilling that role, both mentally and physically. And it came clearer to me yesterday being at the game. And I suppose the player that I want to highlight in this regard is someone like Corey Durden. So you look at his game, 9 disposals, 4 tackles, and all those tackles were brutal. They don't get past him. He really does lock them up. He is a real bull in that regard. So his tackling, I think, for his age, is pretty elite. But he's only kicked the 4 goals for the year, and none of his last 3 games. But looking at him yesterday, I was keeping a close eye on him. He does not look like getting dropped. And I know there's calls for bringing Motlop in and trialling some other sort of small forwards. But these small forwards at the moment, particularly Corey Durden, are fulfilling a role. And I was amazed at, I suppose, essentially a forward pocket player, how far he was getting into our defensive half to help out. Seeing him up around the ball. At one stage I saw him take an intercept mark in the back half. He was kicking the ball inside forward 50. and his work rate was unbelievable. So for one, he knows his role. It's at the moment it's a selfless role, so he knows it. He's capable, fully capable of fulfilling that role. Not only the defensive pressure in regards to tackling and corralling and those pressure acts, but also that selfless attitude to get up the ground, to one, open up space, but two, to support the back half. He's just doing it beautifully at the moment. I watched him really closely yesterday. He's obviously a young man who's very mature in the way he goes about it. And it's just not him as well. You sort of look at, say, someone like Corey Durden, and then you start to think of someone like Matty Cottrell. And I know he's got his limitations, but he's capable of fulfilling the role he wants to play because of his engine. And he's obviously mentally strong as well. The same with Nunes, and O'Brien's starting to get there. And someone like Jordan Boyd, who came in, knew his role, and was capable of fulfilling what obviously Michael Voss and the team required him to do. And it's almost like the sum of the parts. So that gets me onto my second point in regards to Jordan Boyd. Now, I wanted to see whether Lockie Plowman could have backed up another game where I thought he was really solid against North Melbourne. But when I heard that he was an out and Boyd was coming into the selected lineup, not just as a medical sub, I was really excited that Jack Carroll was going to play. It's not Jack Carroll, Jordan Boyd was going to play, because I want to see what this boy's got. I mean, we've heard that he's got a fair bit of power and he's a beautiful kick, but he hasn't necessarily shown any of those attributes at the moment, just because, I mean, he's 23 years of age, but he's young, okay, in regards to his football, and still relatively inexperienced. But I thought for the most part, he was really, really good yesterday, really good. Just the 13 disposals, but it felt like he had more than that. I mean, 381 metres gained from those 13 touches is pretty impressive, but it was the work he was doing off the ball, his desperation, his tough, competitive nature. And I don't think we lost anything not playing Plowman at all. And I'm really, I'm not that excited, but just want to see how Jordan Boyd develops. I saw some really courageous acts. Obviously, that first one where he went back with a flight of the ball and he won 50-metre penalty, which resulted in a goal. There was a couple of really impressive efforts on the wing where he threw his body, slid in, okay, and released the ball along the ground. I mean, in just his kicking, thought his kicking with depth and penetration just looked really good. So, once again, okay, it was a perfect opportunity for him to come in. From my point of view, we were always winning this game of football. And in these games where you're playing the weaker opposition, you get to see, I suppose, the attributes of these types of players. And you start to think, okay, they may have something to offer for us. And I thought he was actually really good yesterday. That brings me on to Jack Carroll. The form will lapse. He hasn't been like super. And I'm glad he hasn't come out of the blocks and, racked up 31 possession games. He's just been impressive in what he has done. Okay, not huge numbers, but we can see something there. Okay, and the thing I saw yesterday, just in his second game, he got a lot of midfield time, including a number of centre bounces that he attended. And I think he either won a couple of clearances or was on the end of some handball receives. Now, for me, this might spell the end for Paddy Dow. Now, we're under no illusions that Jack Carroll is going to face a lot sterner tests than North and Adelaide, and that's no disrespect for those two teams. But his composure and what we've seen so far, and he got tackled a few times yesterday, and I think that will come. The pace of the game, he's still trying to find that. We have not seen his sidestep yet. We've not seen him turn out of traffic, okay? But his composure, his skill, and the thing I think that impresses me and watching him closely yesterday was his work rate. Pushing up, back. He's obviously got a really good engine. And I think these are the question marks. When I hear people say there is no reason at all why Paddy Dow shouldn't be playing in the season. Now, in the seniors. Now, there is a reason. Okay, there must be a reason why someone like Jack Carroll is preferred over Paddy Dow. And potentially, Paddy Dow will never be able to reach that level that someone like Jack Carroll has already. So does it? I never stamp anyone's papers, okay? You never stamp anyone's papers. And Paddy Dow was okay in the twos on the weekend in a dreadful loss, for the reserves against Frankston. I watched that. He was okay. But he continually gets overlooked. It may spell the end for him with the development of someone like Jack Carroll. He looks the goods only after 2 games. Sam Walsh, my next point. No alarm bells, but I reckon he's just going at the moment. Is it the injury from early in the year? Doesn't he have the conditioning that he may have had? I don't know about that. I'm not saying he looks sluggish, but he is getting caught. He doesn't appear to have as much time as he's had in the past. Okay, he is getting numbers. He had 26 or 27 yesterday. I think he had 35 against Fremantle. But he's not appearing to have an impact on the game at the moment. Okay? Is it because he has less of a workload? Probably is. There's obviously a number of reasons why. I'm actually seeing the positive out of that. I'm seeing that we're going to probably see him at the best in the second half of the season, because I don't necessarily was seeing the best of Sam Walsh right here, right now. And that's okay. I go to Zach Williams as my 5th point. He's copped some knocks, okay, including some from me. And I've questioned his, I suppose, his mentality, and we don't know these guys, but I have, based on the condition he came into the football club in his first year. But that yesterday, as far as I'm concerned, being at the ground helps, but that's the best defensive game I've seen him play. And it's not just the 1%ers that he was able to do, his closing speed, his spoiling, his desperation. But for me, the great thing looking at our defenders yesterday, particularly Zach Williams, was his positioning behind the ball and his leadership behind the ball. Him, Doherty, Newman and Sard, those sort of 4 sort of half-back flankers, medium-sized defenders, or smallish medium-sized defenders, their leadership and positioning behind the ball, we're obviously Wiedering and Young being in there, was absolutely outstanding. The amount of times I watched them, pointing, demanding where to stand, and I suppose, I don't know, it was just the level of concentration that must go into that and be able to do that for 120 minutes. And I thought that was first class yesterday. And all of them, for me, defensively. And we might not have the best defensive, talent-wise, back 6, 7 at the moment. But I really feel that they're all on the same page. And I saw that yesterday. So when you hear, bring Kemp in, well, what does Kemp need to do at the lower level to be able to come in and fulfill that, I suppose, that leadership role as well? It doesn't matter how young you are. Is he capable of coming in and being able to do that at the same level as these guys? Okay, right here, right now, he's not ready, or it appears to be that he's not ready. So I thought defensively outstanding by Zach Williams yesterday, and probably wouldn't get many plaudits. It would not even be close, probably anyone's consideration for best players. Point number 6, 74 inside 50s to 49 is a huge result, no matter what opposition you are playing. The collective work rate of everyone, just not the midfield, and we mentioned, I think TDK was pretty impressive yesterday, up against a pretty experienced campaigner now. Our high half forwards and the level of work they have to do, and our wingers, and our defenders. I'll talk about, those halfback flankers was pretty ruthless for the best part of 3 quarters. And looking at that yesterday, it's little wonder that our forwards had a bit of a party yesterday, particularly Charlie and Harry. And we gave them such serious looks. And the thing that I suppose I've been a little bit concerned about is we've been a little bit one-dimensional in that we've gone long top of the goal square every time or gone to a contested situation, thinking that Harry and Charlie will take that contested grab. But I think we are getting better. And with guys like Boyd, who's an exceptional kick, Fisher can hit up inside 450, that ability to lower the eyes, particularly to Charlie. There was a lot of hit-ups to Charlie out in front, which I thought was a real positive going inside 450. But 74 inside 50s, that's absolutely outrageous effort by the team. Point number 7, Lewis Young. Like I said before, there will be sterner tests for Lewis Young. But he really hasn't put a foot wrong since he came into the team. Look, there's probably a game there, like all the defenders were beaten in a game against Fremantle, I think it was, where he had his hands full. And he's going to come up, and it might just be against the Giants this week. They don't have an exceptional tall forward line, but God, he looks good. And to think that we traded out SPS and the pick we got, which we thought was unders, for SPS, we were able to use that to get Lewis Young, who was pretty much discarded from the Western Bulldogs, who are crying out for key defenders. It's an extraordinary set of circumstances, and one, I think with this is the impressive thing. He's come in to that back line, and it's almost like he looks really comfortable in what he's doing. It's going to be sterner tests. It's going to be harder tests for him. And there's going to be situations where we're going to be frustrated. I know that. And we get frustrated with Jacob Wiedering as well, and all our players. But I think it's just a huge positive, And he makes good decisions. And he mightn't look as desperate and chucks himself around like, and they're different players to a Liam Jones, but by God, when he gets the ball in his hands, I feel safe. I feel safe with him, and his contested marking and his intercept marking is pretty impressive. And he's starting to show a little bit of aggression as well. I really liked his game yesterday. I actually thought he was in our top 5 players. It was funny being at the ground and listening to supporters. Listening to supporters, the final quarter fade out, 2 goals 2 to 5 goals 2, and the frustration of supporters. And look, I hear it, but geez, we want a 4-quarter performance. We demand 4-quarter performance, but I don't know. It's something it's taking a while to get there in that regard. I must say, I was there with my mum and also my eldest son, who had a multi going on this game, and we spoke about the multi before the game, and he picked Carlton between 1 and 39, and it all deep into the last quarter, all his legs had got up. We were waiting on Walsh to get 25. He was stuck on 22 for ages, but he eventually got his 25, and then he was waiting on Himmelberg to kick a goal. Himmelberg got one late in the game, so he was there. He's going to win a bit of a packet actually, and so I was from that point of view, I wasn't overly concerned with the final margin, but the poor bastard didn't get it when Charlie kicked that goal. I think there was 22 seconds remaining, and we were having a bit of a laugh that this remarkable margin, which looked like it was going to blow out. At one stage, we were talking about a 100-point win, and then ended up being 48. But he didn't get his money. We got a 48-point win. So we were all happy. In the end. But I thought that was just a funny little side show to the whole game yesterday. Point number 9: kick to handball ratio. The Port Adelaide game, the last game I went to, I was really, really frustrated with the kick to handball ratio. I think it was 202 kicks to 202 handballs. We and I know we're a big possession team, but we just overused the handball. And I know it's got better since then. Maybe it's the pressure. Okay, with the better opposition, we are forced to handball handball under pressure. But yesterday, I just felt that the balance was perfect with that kick to handball ratio. 243 kicks to 145 handballs, and we kicked long. And I just felt the kicking, the efficiency of the kicking was really good. Good positioning inside forward 50 with depth. We hit up, lowered the eyes. I would like to see us use that one inboard a little bit more. I think Lockie O'Brien was the only one I saw who took it on in that, was it the first quarter? I think it may have been the first quarter. I'd like to see that one a little bit more where we open up the middle of the ground, but I just think our kicking yesterday was the best I've seen it. And whether that was the pressure that Adelaide weren't really able to apply to us, I think that may have been a bit of a reason why our kicking yesterday was really good. And finally, I can't go without saying Cripper and Charlie. And that combo yesterday, we know we have the stars and we know it's a team game. But just these two in particular. I think 12 months ago, we're talking about Charlie. He wasn't even playing football and there was a fear that he'd never play again. Or never get back. Yeah, never play again. And then when he finally did make his comeback and he spent the last 2 or 3 weeks or four games playing in the seniors, he wasn't himself. He just didn't look himself in regards to his body. But a big pre-season, he's still got a long way to go because it's a long season, but by God, watching him live, oh my God, what an impossible matchup. His leap's back, his speed's back, his hands are back. Just an amazing turnaround. And we talk about elite players at the competition, and when we did that little exercise at the start of the year about who are our A-graders, and I think I only put up Sam Walsh and Jacob Wiedering based on the last 2 years. Wow. Suddenly, Charlie skyrocketed straight back up there. He's just in super form and incredibly dangerous. And Cripper, I mean, the same. 2 years, not in the wilderness, but 2 years of football that was nowhere near what he's showing at the moment. And I think we said at the end of last year, this team needs to get better holistically. This team needs to get better structurally, culturally. But we also said that we need Cripper back to his best. We need Charlie back to his best because all those, no matter how you slice and dice it, Melbourne, Richmond, the Premiers, they all have their superstars who change and turn games. Petrarca, Dustin Martin, and we're lucky. We've got those in our team, and we're lucky at the moment, and fingers crossed that they can stay healthy because, oh my God, watching those two boys in action yesterday was an absolute privilege. Catch you soon.